and then we have Phil who's outside and comes in last on the fire truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can take pictures with Santa. Yeah.
What a fun job.
Hmm?
What
It is a fun job.
Yeah.
You get 2.5 hours of constant attention.
Yeah.
How's your business?
It's the hiatus from just content creation right now, just keep up with that company. So.
Oh, yoga instructor for tree.
Whenever you guys.
For sure.
Or it, the other day.
Take it for
It was like a series and I was just getting so pretty.
Oh,
one night. So great. And then today Debbie's like, oh, we've got this yours. These are from Adriana, but I had, they were at the loop with the button inside. And I, oh, don't remember. Go. Okay, everybody, welcome. Hi everyone online. So I'd love to just start and go around and just to catch up socially, say your name because we still have relatively new members. Just say your name and maybe a Thanksgiving tradition you have or something that you enjoy doing over the long weekend, even if it didn't have to do with Thanksgiving.
Okay. Hi, I'm Adriana. This weekend, we went to visit families, so the little ones came together, so it was just fun seeing cousins and so, and they entertained themselves for 2 full days, and the adults just got to sit and do nothing. So that was amazing. That's nice.
So great. So great. Gosh, okay, so it was the first Thanksgiving without my mother, which was like very different.
Yeah.
So we went to my sister's house and it was lovely, just a lovely family time together. It's also my birthday weekend, so everyone's all together. So we just got to go out to a nice birthday dinner with the kids in town from college. So it's really fun.
Yeah, it was our first Thanksgiving without mother-in-law, so.
Yeah, a little different.
Mhm.
Hello, everybody. I'm Emily Feline. And I think one fun thing we did this weekend, we have sort of developed a tradition where we spend the night at our friend's parents' house for Thanksgiving, and then Friday we go and get our tree in Roy. So we went to a fun tree farm in Roy, and I think Poppy might remember it this year. She definitely didn't remember last year. But she helped pick out our tree, so that was really fun.
Oh,
We cut it down ourselves. So.
She did most of the work. Right?
She did, yes, most of the dragging.
and that's why she'll remember. You just strapped it to her back.
Right. My name's Amy Kleckner. This weekend we went to Canada on Saturday. My daughter's best friend used to live here and then moved to Vancouver, and so we go up there for her birthday party, and so this is our like 3rd annual trek to Vancouver for the birthday party. It was great until we got to the border and I realized I left their birth certificates back at home. And it wasn't until like they asked for them that I was like, they're not here, they're at home. So yeah. Anyway, so it was like a little bit of a nightmare. We turn around, go back. My husband met us in Seattle, and then so it was just like this like the kids were champs, but it was like, this is so it was supposed to be a really quick trip up. It became like the longest car ride.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We did it. So,
You did it.
yeah.
Oh
And we
my-
made it home, which was also great.
Oh,
Hi, I'm Phil. I go by historical Phil, partly because of my age. But my wife and I were up in Bellevue with my oldest daughter and the rest of the grandkids and the great grandkids. And it was just a wonderful time. Everybody, we had a big dinner and just amazing. We don't, you think about it, you don't get together all that often, but they get everybody in one place and actually it's good for them. They enjoy it too. So it was a really nice day. But I just got back from a trip in the Balkans, if anybody's been there, Croatia and
Oh,
other places.
nice.
And it was fabulous. And there's a caves in Slovenia that are 2 million years old. That'll set you thinking. And I put up my lights yesterday.
I'm Shauna Alexander. One of my highlights from this weekend is I unplugged and went on a road trip with my daughter and my dogs. We went up to our Indian reservation in Bellingham, played on the beach for a few hours and enjoyed time together. My highlights. Yeah.
I'm Nancy Cameron. This is, I think, my husband and I's 5th year hosting. We don't have a large family, so there's always between 9 and 10 of us. It's not huge, but we're like a well-oiled machine now. So like every year we just get a little bit better and a little bit better. And it was not totally stress-free. I'm not going to say that we're perfect, but it was just nice. And we got to chat with our family instead of just, prepping the meal and all the stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're getting there.
9 to 10, that's cool. That's pretty big.
Yeah, that's plenty.
I'm Lonnie Neal, and one of my favorite traditions at this time of year is I take my boys up in the mountains with cousins and family friends to harvest our Christmas tree. So you pay the Forest Service $10, and they have certain logging roads you can go up and get your tree. And my car was the only one that did not get stuck in the snow. Feeling very proud.
Oh my God.
But it's fun. The boys, like we hike through the woods and you look for your.
What kind of car?
I have a Toyota 4Runner.
Okay.
All the pickup trucks got stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good tradition. It's fun.
I'm Nikki. I'm the office assistant for the Parks Department. I think we started a new tradition this year. We did a butter blanketed turkey, and it was really beautiful and delicious and moist. So
Sounds good.
It involved using a cheesecloth. Okay, it's like went viral. Everyone I've talked to is like talking about the cheesecloth.
yes. And 3 sticks of unsalted butter that are melted. You dip the cheesecloth in it, put it on top, and then you baste every half an hour.
Oh my gosh.
So yes, it's delicious.
That was a butterball. All right, Sylvie.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Estrella, and this year I didn't want to make a turkey, so I went and got some tamales from the store the restaurant where you guys bought tamales, and I just made some sides and a sweet potato pie, and it was all good. Yeah. So it
That's
was,
a great way to go.
I'll probably do it like a small turkey later, but I just didn't feel like it. It was a lot. My kids, some of them just left for Texas. So my little guy.
Mm.
Yeah, so they're gonna be gone for a while.
Are you gonna be okay?
Yeah.
I
I miss
know.
him. He spent the last 2 weeks with me. He was just sticking like glue, and so I didn't get much sleep for 2 weeks. But we had a great time together.
You guys have a great relationship.
Yes.
Daryl?
Earl, would you like to go next? Excuse me.
I think he's selling diamonds.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Very quiet, but very enjoyable.
Oh, there he goes.
Mhm.
I had a Friendsgiving with a whole bunch of friends that I went to, and then went to Portland for the weekend.
Awesome. Okay, Daryl.
Oh, I already went.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Mhm.
sorry.
That's good.
Hi, Susan.
Hello, what are we doing?
We are saying either a tradition you have for Thanksgiving or something you enjoy doing over the long weekend.
Oh, well, my tradition for Thanksgiving, since all my relatives are UK and Canada, is I work in my garden and I have a therapeutic talk to anybody. It's wonderful.
Glitching a little.
It sounds great, whatever you said.
Did you hear?
It glitched for us. Maybe
Hello?
if there's a better connection. We'll have.
Well, I can you hear me?
You might want to try
Okay.
turning your video
I
off.
don't know.
Sometimes if you turn your video off, your sound will be better.
Oh, then we can't see you.
Okay. Well, it's nothing seems to be working that well.
Well,
We can hear you better now.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, can you see me still?
Can you try again? Because it sounded really cool.
Well, I know it wasn't really. I said that since all my relatives are in the UK or Canada, I always spend my Thanksgiving Day working in my garden, which is a very extensive English cottage garden, and it's wonderful and very therapeutic, and I get a lot done, so I feel very satisfied.
That's a very good tradition. I like that.
Yes, it is.
Great. Well, welcome everyone. Gosh, the last meeting of the year. And we did so much this year. Really great. So I'll just have you start, Emily.
All right, I call this meeting to order. And we need to, first up, approval of, a few rounds of meeting minutes. I think just 3. So we've already approved October 7th. Got it. Okay. All right. So, a motion to approve meeting minutes from October 28th.
Motion to approve.
I have a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you. And a motion to approve meeting minutes from our monthly meeting on November 4th.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. I have a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, and motion to approve our meeting minutes from November 8th, which was our retreat.
I have a motion to correct a few things.
All right,
I move to make a correction. Susan was present later on. She's listed as excused. And I believe Patty Bell was in attendance also.
She was, yes.
For which one?
The retreat.
Oh, yeah.
Retreat.
okay.
That was a
Copy
test.
and
You
paste.
passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
All right, so with those corrections to our attendance for that day, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I approve. I motion. Me.
Thank you, Lonnie. And second? I'll second. All right, thank you. All right, thank you, everybody. So 2 items of new business today, January office elections. January officer elections.
Yeah, so every January we elect officers for the year. And Emily's the chair and Earl's the vice chair. They both have said they would like to continue, but this is a time if anyone else wants to put their name in the hat, that we can do that and then we can vote in January. So I just wanted to extend the invitation to anyone else who might have interest in being an officer. Does anyone else want to be considered for the chair or vice chair? Very grateful for you guys. Okay. All right. And so we will vote in, January.
Next item of new business is the city council art purchase. The number of pieces were, they can purchase annually, a budget for that, and when that will happen.
Yeah, so when we had our joint commission meeting, it was brought up again, the idea of purchasing art from one of our artists who was a rotating artist and making the city council making an annual purchase. And so if we really want them to do that, we really have to come up with a budget. And you know, how often, how many pieces, where are these pieces gonna go? So I wanted to drill down on that and see what thoughts you have. You know, I think I was, well, anyways, so tell me your thoughts, anyone that has thoughts on this. The city council is interested in purchasing a piece of art from our artists that display quarterly. The question is, how much do we want to spend and how many pieces do we want to buy annually? And then again, do we have a place to put those?
That's what I was gonna ask, is where would they be
Yeah.
housed?
Is that coming out of our budget then?
Yes. So it'd come out of our $30,000 that we have. So did anyone just think off the top of their head, like, oh, I just assumed it would be X number of pieces or one piece annually, or?
Is this the first time that this has ever been presented?
It is, yeah.
Is there a proposed location?
Just City Hall,
Oh,
wherever in City Hall we
Okay.
might put them.
I would say we should just start off small and just do one piece a year just to test it out.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have an idea of how much money?
No,
Okay.
I don't know, to 2,000, maybe up to 2,000, up to 2,500.
Also, it depends on the
It
artist.
depends on the artist.
yeah, it completely depends on that.
So, based on the artists who've displayed here, there's really isn't much over $2,000 that's been on display here.
This past year. Are we talking?
Correct.
Or are
Yeah.
we looking to purchase from the new run of artists coming through next year?
Well, we'll have to discuss that, like, how do we select?
How do we just select them? Yeah.
And Susan, you know, you deal a lot with artists. I don't know. So Earl was just saying one piece a year, and then we were talking about the budget is $2,000 adequate for a piece of art.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I would think, based on the artists we've been looking at, you know, having shows with, I think that would be adequate to purchase at least one, if not two pieces. Again, to whomever said it depends on the artist, you know, I mean, if you're talking somebody like Preston, thousands of dollars. So it would be us really working with our emerging artists to select a piece, and the selection is very critical, and you have to remember too, you have to insure it and then store it and then inventory. You have to start inventory your collection as you acquire them. So there's lots of admin work behind having a collection. One or two, you know, it won't be onerous if, you know, we have under 10 pieces, but when you start 20, 50 pieces, you have to know where those pieces are at all time, and they have to be properly stored and archivally stored. So it's a big commitment.
What is the cost to insure it? Roughly.
It really depends again on the type of art and the artist. I mean, you know, the museums have usually used a subsidiary of Lloyd's of London, and they had the fine art insurance, and Lakewold has a fine arts insurance too. That we could go back, and I'm sure they would let us take a look at the policy and what it covers and how much it is. It just depends, Sally. There isn't a sort of a boilerplate price range. You know. But a fine art insurance is separate from regular insurance. So you do have to pay for that on top of everything else.
I thought it might be nice to check out purchasing a piece from Rodney King, since we didn't select him for the mural, and he's also going to be showing here. I just thought that would be something to explore.
And that leads to how do we select the artist? So I suppose we'd have to actually come up with some sort of a process. And maybe it includes all the artists, well, either we could start fresh in 2025, or we could include 4 and 25 together. But then we'll have to figure out a process, some type of a voting process.
Right. And Sally, to help that process, a collecting policy would be a good way to start. And that kind of funnels your collection selection, you know. You have a policy on what you're going to collect, when, within what time for, you know, media and all of that. And I can send you some collection policies to look at.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it helps. Otherwise, it's just going to be a free for all.
Right.
Yeah. And then you have to stay within those guidelines, unless you choose to revise them at any given point.
Right.
Mm.
It sounds like maybe we need a subcommittee for that.
I think so, because it's a big deal. Because, you know, you're obligating funds out of our comparatively small budget already. And then there's going to be additional admin costs. Not that I'm discouraging. I think, you know, Museum of Glass started off not collecting, and then sure enough, by 2008, they were they were collecting and accumulating more and more.
Are they happy about that?
Yes, I think it gives credibility amongst the collecting community. It's good PR, and you know, then when you want to do a show, you can go to your collection and thematically pull from your own collection instead of acquiring additional costs by having to borrow art from folks and transporting it and so forth.
Well,
So
we probably wouldn't be the first city to be doing this.
no,
I know there are some concerns by some people on staff about where we would put it. Do we really have a place for it? So that's something to think about. Daryl, did you have something?
I'm still here. Oh, sorry.
Yes, I did. Susan, thank you for your insights. They were very helpful. I was just thinking back to our work plan from a year ago, and I remember Mayor Whalen being asked a question, and he addressed permanent art. And I was kind of thinking of the court area just outside council chambers. Seems to me would be a pretty good location. Now, I know we do have showcases there that are already full, such as the Sister City exhibit that's there, but there's some others, some other areas there. And I think one of the advantages of doing that is that particular hallway can be locked up, if need be. And when we have council meetings and the public's present, it would be kind of an interesting area to maybe showcase that. That's one of the areas that I kind of thought would be an interesting area for permanently purchased art. I have had no idea how much, and that fine arts is designated as separate in terms of insurance. So that was also very insightful, Susan. Thank you for that. And I was just wondering if anyone thought maybe that area outside council chambers would suit, or inside council chambers for that matter, would be an area worth looking at. That's it.
Well, I think that's an interesting idea because then it becomes open storage really, because it's being exhibited, but it's also being stored. And so you can do that. And that's very, very helpful in the short to medium term.
Oh, okay, Sylvie.
I just had one question or comment. If we're going to be purchasing art, can we consider installing good lighting for the art? Because it's very dark in the hallways. It's very dark in front of the council chambers. What's the point of buying the art if it's not displayed properly with proper lighting?
Excellent point, Sylvie.
Thanks.
My answer is we certainly can. Again, it comes out of our budget. And so again, I would just.
Well, hold on a second, because if it's a building improvement, wouldn't it come out of the building budget?
If there were a budget for that, but they would, right now, we're just the budget's so tight, they won't approve any expenditure. But if it's realistic and somewhat nominal, you know, we could at least look into it or have someone research that on the commission, I should say.
Yeah.
Look into
And-
that.
Yeah, and it depends also, I mean, what they'll let us do to get that lighting in, you know.
Electrician.
Hi, Eric.
Yeah, I think the city has staff that can do it. It would just be getting the equipment.
They approved all the racks that went in that have the wires that hang down. So that got done.
Yeah, well, you
So
know,
I can't.
that's
I don't see a lot of pushback on something like that unless I'm wrong, but I don't think there'd be a lot of pushback. I'd be curious what the cost would be.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, we have the Lakewold has the lighting with the little light, so they're not stationary. And that's what most museums have, you know. So the lighting becomes very flexible.
Yeah, it's like a little individual spotlight.
Mm-hmm. So maybe whoever's working on the collecting policy, the art collecting policy, can look at lighting too. It's really a matter of just getting a few links, and maybe we could run them by you and say, are these the same ones you have at Lakewald?
Yeah, and honestly, that system was purchased or ordered for us locally. I mean, it wasn't a big to do. It was pretty easy and simple to install.
What is it called again, Susan? What is that system called?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
What is the lighting system called?
I can't remember the exact system name that we purchased at Lakewell, but I can get that to you, and also what the museums have, because it's a fast evolving technology, as you can imagine.
Great, thank you.
At the History Museum, our consultant had a gentleman who came in and he looks at exhibits and how light it is or how dark it is. And then he recommends lighting. If we use track light, and that can be moved if you change the exhibit things. I can certainly get the name of it. It was quite reasonable.
Yeah, it isn't hugely expensive, and the systems are fairly simple to install. Mhm.
Okay, and Sylvie.
Sorry, I forgot to take my hand down, but that's great, Phil. Thanks for that.
Such good discussions, you guys. Okay, so one thing I should say in January that we'll also do is talk about our committees and sign up for different committees. And it's probably time to look at that again because we had a public art committee and a performing art committee. And I think it's time to break it down this year since we need some different subcommittees, one of which was for the plinth research. So we'll look at that in January, but maybe you can just be thinking about what committees you want to be on. So anything else? We've talked about maybe one piece a year, maybe around $2,000. The fact that we need insurance and an inventory system, that we need a policy before we can really do anything to develop a process for how we're going to select the art. And for that, we'll need a committee. Does that kind of capture everything in some good lighting? So.
Yes.
Yeah. And I do like the idea of it in council chambers, just so more people can see it and hear it needs it, but only so many people come in this room.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Moving on to unfinished business. So this is the Public Art Committee, which we're kind of all a part of, I guess. At this point. A retreat recap from our retreat at the pavilion.
Yeah, thank you everyone who could come to that retreat. That was a half day. I found it really inspiring. And I was wondering if we could just all go through and maybe just say one highlight and one low light, because we want to hone this down every year and make it the best it could be. I felt this year was really special. But you could say one or two things that really struck out that you liked, or one or two things you'd like improved, and we'll take notes for next year.
I'll go. As a new member, I was really excited to be a part of it. I felt very privileged to get to hang out with you guys and eat some yummy food and learn how to make some yummy food. I can't think of anything that I disliked about it at all. So I thought that the art making was exceptionally fun and good, and it really kind of struck a creative spark in me. And I went home that weekend and I busted out my watercolors, and I thought it was just really good. I mean, if we're talking about art all the time, I think that doing some hands-on stuff is really important, especially if you don't do that daily. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love that we had 3 segments. The food, the art activity, and a speaker. I think that was a really great combination. I enjoyed all 3.
Thank you.
I'm really glad that this year we got to cover all 3 areas. Last year we were kind of rushed when it came to the art piece. That final one with the clay or whatever we were working with. So I was thankful we had enough time to get through everything and we weren't rushing for that.
That's a really good point. You know, 2 hours sounded like a long time, and it went by really fast. Anyone else?
Well, I don't think any of our youth council members are here tonight, but the pieces of art that they produced were incredible, very impressive. So that was very cool to see. I was glad they were there.
Yeah, that's unusual for them to show up. We've got a really good group of youth
Even had school
council.
back there too.
They maybe got an excuse.
Okay.
They're smart. We have smart kids.
They're dedicated.
I have a low light. Just the technology piece was
Oh,
horrible
you
for me.
did
So
yeah.
I'll be prepared for next year.
Oh, Nikki, yeah, you did it. You handled that beautifully. Anyone else?
I really love the food demonstration. I mean, I love all this section, but I found the food demonstration to be really great. And then it has led me, I've continued to think about many of these things. And I'm doing, in my humanities class right now, we're doing a unit on foodways. And so it was a really interesting way to start thinking about like how to tie that into the community already. Anyway, I think it was just a great opportunity to see like what organizations are already doing a lot of work in our communities and then start to think about ways in which we can partner with them in different kind of surprising ways. And so I don't have any insights. I've been thinking these things.
So your course on foodways, what exactly does that mean?
So foodways is like a term used to describe like all the systems in which we get food. So cultural systems and like, so the way we grow it, the way we cook it, how we know how to do or don't do those things. And so it's its own field of study. And so there's a lot of organizations that gather like oral histories as a big way of kind of capturing these stories, which is what my students are doing. But it has made me think about, ways in which I can try to connect them better with places that do this. So yeah, there's a lot of like other geographic locations or cultural places have like entire organizations devoted to gathering these kind of oral histories, but there's nothing really focused as far as I can tell in the Pacific Northwest specifically. So it's just an interesting, like, which is surprising. Asian cultural center should start doing that. Right. So like, anyway, so it's been great to like, I think it's a really great chance for as a new member to like see and be kind of exposed to folks who are doing so much really great work in our communities and to kind of.
And
I'm aware of
APTC is
that.
certainly that one.
Yes, no, totally.
So-
Yeah. So it was a
Yeah,
gift.
That's fascinating. Thank you. Okay, anyone else before we move on? Yeah, I did, Susan, thank you for the recommendation for the speaker. I did feel like we definitely at that time didn't have enough time to delve into what could have been a really interesting and engaging question and answer period, just because of time. So I felt bad about that, but what she had to say and the questions she asked, I know really stuck with me a long time.
Yeah. I think the questions were very thought provoking and useful, and people did engage. They asked questions and so forth. So I think it was good. Good start.
So one of the questions was, help me remember, what happens when someone challenges your worldview, right? What happens when someone challenges your worldview? Like, how do you react when someone challenges your worldview? And of course, we can think of incidences with art that comes up. So thank you for that. And, maybe we can have her back for an extended conversation sometime. I did follow up with her.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, I thought they were timely questions and they do make us think. We have an exhibition at right now at Museum of Glass that challenges some people's worldview, and it's interesting to see the different responses to the artwork. Yeah, it's a small one, but you should come and see it.
Yeah. Now I'm intrigued. Thank you. So thanks again, everyone. Felt a very great bonding experience. I love working with everyone here. I just really want to tell you that everyone brings so much, your personalities and intelligence, and just really a pleasure.
That's a serious moment.
Thank you.
That's what I missed.
Oh,
You didn't miss much.
You were there in spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that I did miss it, and I really wish I could have been there. So sorry about that, everybody.
Yeah, no problem. We know life comes up.
Yeah.
Okay.
2025 work plan. Are we ready to
Okay.
finalize?
Yeah, so this is the most important part of our meeting today, is to finalize the work plan that city council will look at and put their stamp of approval on in January. And it's what we end up doing for the year. So this is our time if we want to add or detract anything, so that when we have our joint commission meeting and talk about all our goals, we feel confident that we can meet these goals and feel good about them. And if we don't, we feel like it's too much or too little or lacking in any area, this is the time to really, I do like looking at it as our group goals. So you could just read through them if you want, and if anyone has anything to say, just please speak up. You could just read 1 through 7 if you want.
Oh, sure.
So,
All right, so number 1 is our public art installations, both the murals and signal boxes. Number 2 is quarterly rotating artist displays and the art receptions that we've held. Number 3, our continuing education. Number 4, the annual retreat. Number 5 is our special events. Number 6, our continued recruitment and retention to the committee. And then number 7 is public art for capital improvements.
So just a reminder, at the last meeting, we talked about the plinths and doing rotating art, but we decided that, again, that was a lot to bite off, a lot we don't know. And so we talked about having a subcommittee to do the research on that. Earl already did a lot, but it's been a couple years. So just really delving into the exact cost, exact location. Would we start with 1 or 2? Everything. And again, we would need a whole policy and procedure around procuring that. And so that's why plinths is not on there. We could add something about the research for implementing plinths.
Well, I think
That would be a good idea, because it would be a nice topic to revisit.
Thinking about what Susan had mentioned about insuring these pieces, that would also mean that those considered by our system.
I don't know. Earl, I don't know if you.
What was the question again?
Oh, when Susan mentioned, is we were wanting to procure artwork for city hall, thinking forward to the plinths, will those be insured under like a similar policy, like a fine arts policy? Would we need to have that work insured? Does that make sense?
We would. I mean, and everybody does it. You know, there's like a few cities that do it differently. Like Puyallup, you know, they actually have a nonprofit that runs this program independently from, you know, the city of Puyallup. But the city of Puyallup is the one, from what I remember, it's been a while, but the city of Puyallup is the one that is actually insuring the pieces of art. You know, so it's under, you know, these pieces of art, you know, all those pieces of art that you see at Pioneer Square, you know, in Puyallup, those are under the insurance umbrella of the city of Puyallup. And as far as Olympia goes, there is no independent nonprofit organization. Everything is done internally by the city of Olympia and insured by the city of Olympia as well. So yes, we would need to have those insured.
that be something that could fall under public art installations or the plinths?
I think. And the city collection would fall under that too, because it's all public art.
I would think.
Well, and I mean, I would imagine that the city has, I mean, because the city should, I would think, would have already insurance policies for the current pieces of art that we already have installed in the city. You know, so there should already be some sort of a program in place. But I don't know. I mean, I don't work for the city, but you know, like the piece of art that we just installed a couple of years ago, I would imagine that's insured by the city of Lakewood, but I can't answer that.
Yeah, the gateway art.
Well, we could put,
Yeah.
under public art installations. Well, that's installations. Well, we could put mural signal boxes and then plinth research. Or plinth policy and procedures. So that they don't think that we're actually, I guess I don't want them to think that we're implementing plinths and then be disappointed. Not that they would, but we could just put plinth,
Or you could have a category saying possible, like,
Researching future
yeah,
acquisition and.
it's like future possible
So
art
Sally, do we know if the current art that's within our boundaries is insured by the city of Lakewood? I can't remember the answer to that
I
question.
am pretty positive it is, Earl.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Okay.
And that we can find out, but through our city attorney, I'm sure it is, because just like all our events are insured
Exactly.
to the city. So. Yeah, so I'll figure out a way to add the plinth research in here. The reason I want to stick with plinths is it was part of our long-term public art program that we wrote. It was, you know, it was a mural, signal boxes, plinths, and then sculptures. So as opposed to just future acquisitions, I think that's a little bit general in my opinion. So I think just on that same line, we can put plinth policy and procedures, and that would just give us a year to get going on that.
Yeah, agreed, because it's something that we've been talking about, you know, before COVID. I mean, you know, it's been a while, so yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah, and you did a lot of work on that, Earl, so thank you.
I have a question about just kind of historical knowledge as a member. So when the sculptures you were talking about that were created or installed, did that come out of this group's budget or did that come out of the city budget or a different budget?
Yeah, so it came out of the 106 budget, which is the art budget. Yes, it came out of that budget. And so we don't have that money, you know, it takes, so I think in the plan, public art plan, it's like every 6 to 10 years, we'll do a big major piece. Also for our community, they aren't as well received because there's a lot of poverty and low income residents. So the signal boxes and murals are just much more well received.
I'm just curious about like how that like the continuous
you kind of have to save up.
insurance
So
costs.
each year we can the money can roll over until we build up enough. But like the insurance isn't something that was budgeted for those, so it just rolls into the city's insurance policy.
That was my
I
question.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it definitely wasn't a line item that I recall. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Yeah. Okay.
All right, elections. Did we need?
Well, are we ready to move on for the work plan?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
I just have another general question. It's a new person.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
when we are deciding where the money is spent, who like this plan, I know we're coming up with a plan right now.
Yeah.
I guess my question is how much guidance do we get from city council and how much guidance do we give city council? And it's
Yeah.
curious.
So we're considered a recommending body, but at this point, and it's changing, we're a relatively new commission, but each year we gain more trust. And now, they haven't drilled down and asked really detailed, like how many signal boxes are you doing? We don't have to say that. But in January, we'll want to take a look and go, okay, here's the map of the signal boxes that are left to be wrapped. These are really high priority. The rest aren't. So maybe we only want to do 3 signal boxes and 2 murals, or, so we'll have that discussion. But they won't get involved at that level.
And did we decide about the signal boxes and the murals, or was that decided by the city?
That was us.
Okay, sorry,
That was us. Yeah.
That's helpful. Thank you.
I have a question. I'm looking at the agenda and I heard you say education, but I don't see it as one of the points for the budget. Is it on there?
For the work plan,
Yeah.
the continuing education, you mean? The continuing education.
Yes. Is it on there?
Number 3 under the work plan. Is that what you're referring to?
I think so. I just couldn't see it.
So yeah, so that's when we have speakers come in. Usually they charge $200 or $300
For us or for the community?
for our continuing education. Yeah.
Can we add something to, like, for a vote to see if we can add this to our budget? Art enrichment for the community, for families and for seniors. And maybe it could be like a campaign that we do art in the park. Because there's studies that show that people that are exposed to art, they not only live longer, but they also keep their mental faculties about them, and also longevity as far as dementia and all that other stuff. Since we're an art commission for the community, I feel like that's important. Since we don't have a community center in the city.
So to summarize, this is separate from our continuing education. You're saying, can we add a new element to our plan, which is educating the community and providing speakers and art to people in the community that's free of charge?
Hands-on.
For.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is for dialogue is, where would we have it? This is like planning an event. It's essentially planning an event if you're doing this.
So like I would propose that we do it on a quarterly basis. And perhaps do it in the pavilion or some other area that we have access to for free. If we did in the pavilion, you could call it Art in the Park. And just have different artists come in and lead it. Kind of like what they do at Sip and Wine or whatever they call that, but only as a community function, and to make it free, because a lot of our the communities are, a lot of the people in Lakewood are don't get that exposure.
It's like when we did at the farmers market. I know Daryl participated when they had you did the drum circle and everything. Million, and that had a great turnout, didn't it? So
that's a good point. So go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, well, that was what I was thinking. Like, could it somehow be combined with some of the other events that are already happening in the park?
I would say yes, but also our winters are, I think we should consider doing something in the winter too, because people need a pick up, because it's a long winter for us, and there's a lot of gloominess here. So something that would, spark up, people's spirits would be good.
This is a great discussion. One thing to know is that the pavilion closes at sunset, so we can't have programming in there after dark. So it would have to be a daytime event. So like, I guess you're looking at after school, or if you're looking earlier than that, it's you know, going to be more of a seniors, people who don't have work.
Or even
You know, if I could add like maybe just a thought here, because I think it's an amazing idea and I really like that. And the location, the pavilion, the pavilion is, I love Fort Silicon Park and I love the pavilion, but it's on the outskirts of town. And if we really wanted to try to make a program that's geared a lot towards seniors, that area might be a little bit more challenging for a lot of seniors to get to. And as opposed to something more centrally located, I don't know what that would be, but, you know, coming from a person whose, you know, mom is in a wheelchair, she has to be transported. Somebody has to physically transport her everywhere she goes. And, you know, there might be, and there's a lot of seniors out there that simply don't drive any longer, you know, and or take the bus. And so if there was maybe a central location that we could think of, that would just be maybe a good idea. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
I think we could we could have it move around, see different places. I mean, we have actually,
good point.
We could reserve time, I think, easily at either Clover Park Technical College or Pierce. I mean, there's spaces there that are publicly available. We have the library, we could check out the community room. I think that there's lots of options, and all of those places are all on bus routes, multiple bus routes, right? And so I think this is a great idea. In fact, I'd almost rather spend all of our money on educating our community, and then we just go to those. and that can be our continuing education, right? So yeah. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Susan, you're muted.
Sorry. There's a budgetary impact, as you were just saying in the conversation for this. All the artists have to be paid. They're not going, you can't ask them to volunteer for this kind of work. And we have $30,000. So if we want to create a program like this that is for the community, we have to have a budget and request funding for it. Otherwise, that 30,000 will go like this with this wonderful, and I do think it's wonderful, and it's what a number of nonprofits also try to do, is to go out and bring art to senior centers, and it's a very noble, valuable thing. So thank you for bringing it up, Sylvie. But just saying, there's money involved.
That might be available for that type of funding.
Adriana, I was just saying there might be grant opportunities.
Yeah. Can we as a city get a grant?
More specific to these type of programs.
We can write grants all we want, for sure.
Yeah, you can get, I'm more used to the nonprofit model, and, you know, National Endowment for the Arts would give us a grant, but I don't think that's the kind of program you're thinking of, Sally, where the cities can go.
Right.
The city of Tacoma just they had a grant for their arts.
Yeah, they got a lot of grants.
Yeah, I think
if I could just say, because this is the perfect opportunity to interject Tacoma and Tacoma Creates, which is just the kind of programming the Tacoma Creates would fund. And I did bring this up with our mayor and our city manager, but the 0.1% for the arts program that is voted on by the people, or a council-matic can vote it in, and it provides funding for schools and just the kinds of programming that we're talking about here. And Tacoma has had it for 7 years, and it has been a game changer. there. I mean, there's different structures of grants that you can apply to the city for. The big museums get X amount, and then there's grants that smaller organizations can get too. But it's coming up for a vote again in Tacoma.
Do we qualify for that? Because we're a separate
No,
city.
no, you don't qualify. Lakewood does not qualify for it. You have to create it yourself. We Lakewood has to create it ourselves, and we have to ask the city council if they would be willing to initiate an endeavor like this. Gig Harbor just did it. Olympia just did it.
Oh.
And quite frankly, it's a game changer, but it does require somebody to take it on as their political quest. And it would take a couple years probably, and you have to get all the nonprofits to agree to participate as well, and their constituents. There's state legislation about how these things are structured.
Daryl's been raising his hand. Daryl?
Thank you, Sally. I had a question about the Lakewood Community Center, the one that's directly across the street on Lakewood Drive, excuse me, from Harrison Prep. Is that facility owned and run by the city of Lakewood, or is that now falling under the jurisdiction of Pierce County?
It has always been a Pierce County building, and they were leasing it to us, and then they took that back during COVID. And so that's when our senior center got displaced. And that is why we no longer have a senior center. I certainly think that if we did a program like this, I mean, we do have a senior center staff, and they offer art classes. It would sure be nice to open it up to everyone and not just seniors. Just because we have staff that works with seniors and offers programming to seniors.
Yeah. I honestly, if we wanted to take Tacoma as a model, the Tacoma Creates initiative, that requires a separate, very in-depth conversation and touching what people would be willing to do as a council. But like I said, in Tacoma, it's been a game changer.
Well, Susan, you sound very well versed in it. Would you consider being on a subcommittee?
Well, since I already talked to the mayor and the city manager about this, and also the school district, I already talked to them about it. I would be happy to do that.
Cool.
We got resounding support verbal support from the school district.
How's everybody feel about that?
That'll be interesting.
I like it.
Oh, Daryl, do you have? Okay. I know the city of Tacoma has a large department that works on public art. Where here it's, a small percentage of my current job, and I know they aren't hiring any new people anytime soon. So that is something to think about too. If you get that money, you need someone who's going to staff it. They have a whole department there who are wonderful. They're doing wonderful things. But, in the meantime, it might be wise to look at grants and that type of thing.
Or partnerships too.
Or partnerships.
Like, going into Clover Park or Pierce College or, something like that.
Bill?
Yeah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm with the Tacoma Buffalo Soldiers Museum. We apply for grants and things like that. There's a whole infrastructure though that's created. They've got their own board, they've got their own review process, much like our lodging tax. People make presentations. And when you apply, you have to list, this is what we're going to do. And they say, okay, we approve it, but you have to fund it first and do it. And then you submit for reimbursement. If you say we're going to do this and you don't do it, there's zero money. And they don't give you the money in advance. You do the event and then you which has been approved by them,
Uh-huh.
but you have to do it, and you say we're gonna have 200 people, and you only have 50, then there's a reconciliation.
Uh-huh.
And then they reimburse you.
Yeah,
So
and
it's a lot.
to Phil's point, different organizations have different rules applied to them.
Yeah.
Depending on their size and their budget. So it's a very complex
Yeah,
system.
but it is viable. I
Yes,
mean,
I think so, Phil.
the nonprofit has been a godsend.
Yes, yes, I completely, but you know, that's a long-term goal, perhaps.
I think, Daryl, your hand's still raised. Or do you have something else?
It's not, sorry.
Okay. Go ahead, Sylvie.
Is the colonial, is a space in the Colonial Plaza available for us to use in this manner? Because that's central and there's parking.
There's the historical museum.
There is.
Yeah, I mean, we do have an event space in the historical museum. It's how many people can we accommodate, Phil?
In our room in the back,
Yeah,
we can 55.
okay.
And the pavilion, if you're sitting without tables, can hold about 75. So, I don't think it's out of the question in terms of the budget, because I think an artist would come for $500 in that range. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but just based on our guest speakers, they were willing to come for that amount, and that's not going to break the budget if we're doing one quarter. It just depends on what you want it to look like. I don't know if this is interactive art or a dialogue or.
I would like for it to be interactive so that it's hands-on. I think that would draw people to come and participate rather than just listening to an artist.
Right, it had to be interactive, and then there's materials and supplies, and and on and on, and you can have hundreds of people show up. So,
Good point.
If you make it a sign up and you stop it at 50, then anyone else can catch the next one and sign up.
I mean, I think this is a really great opportunity to also connect with different communities that we aren't beyond even seniors or families, but also, a lot of it, Lakewood is made up of, we have so many small communities
Like
within Lakewood.
Springbrook.
Yeah.
Telecom.
And the international district and I think there's some language barrier potential there that I think we have the opportunity to invite artists who speak different languages. And so I think that there could be a chance to reach more community in this way, especially if it does move. Like, what does it look like if we find a place? Maybe it's at a church in the international district, like somewhere that, over there. What if it's trying to reach different communities and different spaces. And it doesn't have to be visual art, right? There's obviously a lot of cleanup for visual art, but musicians and things like that, conflict, that may not be as. And then we could also look at partnering with nonprofits that already do some of this work. Thinking of the local musical organizations and groups that are often looking for ways to reach the community. I think that there are times we could pay people a lot of money, and potentially times where we could partner with somebody and build some of those community ties as well.
I love that. Yeah, Bill?
Going back to what you said, we partner with Pierce County Libraries, and they put on programs. They do the promotion, and we provide a facility, and then we help them with the running of it. We just had a gentleman that came in, and his presentation was how to write your first best-selling book. And it was very unique, his approach, and I was really fascinated. But I think he was only paid like $250. So they don't have to be budget busters. You just got to find somebody that puts on a program that might have appeal to people that want to learn creative writing, which is an art form in itself. And I always quote, excuse me for writing such a long letter. I didn't have time to write a short one.
Yeah, I don't think we have to. I think we can negotiate a lower, not necessarily $500 for an artist to come in. Because it's, it's at the most, it's maybe a couple of hours.
But you're talking about an interactive where they actually program, right? Where you'd set up tables or like
Yes,
sip and draw.
yes. Well, not necessarily sip and draw, but yeah, to learn a skill and or to learn an artistic skill or yeah.
So I am, in the interest of time, I just love these discussions that everyone feels comfortable to bring up new exciting ideas. So under 3, continuing education, we can know in our group that it means internally and externally. And then again, we need a subcommittee to drill down on this. So we'll add that for Nikki for our January meeting. That's what our 4th committee.
I would like to be part of that subcommittee with Susan. I think it's an amazing idea, and I would like to help her explore that if anybody else was willing to. But I like that idea a lot.
I'll help too.
Well, I know from research that the more you educate the community and get them engaged at the grassroots level, the better they respond to public art and the more they want it in the city, which opens the doors for us.
Are we sorry, clarification. Are we talking about potentially creating out of this part of the conversation, 2 subcommittees, one focused on working with city council members to try to create a Lakewood organization similar to Tacoma Creates, and then a second subcommittee focused on the kind of these public events?
I think it's probably just one subcommittee at this point.
Well, I was, I don't know, I'll turn that back. So we have a subcommittee for the plinths for external community education. And then for the purchasing of art, so that's 3. The 1% of the general fund, I think that's gonna be a big doozy of a couple years. Yeah, I don't even.
It's 0.01, and it will take at least 2 years. It's a big political initiative, and I think we could have a study group to look at it and talk to the cities that have successfully done it. But I know that there has to be a lot of engagement, PR engagement for it.
And I think doing this external education will help prime people, because right now they don't want money to go to art, right? They're like, I can't eat. Why are we spending money? Why is the city spending money on art? So I think you'd want to get yourself in a good position to put that out to the community so it's well received. I mean, those are some of my thoughts. I can also talk to Mary about what her thoughts are. I think putting it on the work plan is, I don't know about that.
Don't put it on the work part. Let's have a study group to study it.
I like that.
You mean to study whether or not it's viable, or what? What do you mean to study it?
Well, we need to look at what other cities have done and how they went about it, because there's it doesn't just you need to do some homework and get your political support for it. I mean, it's
Well, you're right. It would be a very controversial issue because it's raising taxes, even if it's only 0.01. But could the Arts Commission, if they had a plan and a program, go to the lodging tax, which is already in existence as part of our request for funds from the lodging tax, and then you've got the money and a lot less management and a lot more freedom.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, also art brings in tourism and people that come and to see something artistic when they're traveling spend more money than the average tourist, and that's what the lodging tax likes to see. So if we came up with, let's say, the 4 events, then in the summer I could pitch that and write the grant for that. Not to say that we couldn't do it with the current money, like we were talking about, some things don't have to be as expensive, some can. So we could do some leading up to that, and then for the following year, we could get lodging tax money, which I think is a lot more very realistic.
But I think that that's to encourage tourism, isn't it?
It is, but the bottom line is it pays for what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Susan approves.
600. Tennessee are on their way.
Okay, we have gone over time here, so let's finish up the agenda.
Thank you, Sylvie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for your.
Good idea.
I mean, it just shows your passion for engaging the community, which is so important. So everyone just be thinking of what that might look like, and then the next meeting we can have a little brainstorming session. Quickly, the Beloved Community Mural update, most likely it will be March. Rico, I hope you follow him on Instagram. Rico, the artist, follow on Instagram. He just did a big show for the Mexican consulate in Seattle. So that's that. Save the date for the Beloved Community Welcome Walk, please, January 11th. There's an invite-only keynote speech, and please let me know if you're interested in attending that. And we didn't get, sorry, Emily, you can say the last one.
Oh, no, it's okay. Rotating artist selection, voting on who we would like to, show or at the 4 shows next year.
Yeah, so we've got Rodney first quarter,
That's right.
this Pierce College students fourth quarter, I'm pretty sure.
Probably.
So we just need 2 artists. And I came up with some, but we'll spend January really. So if you have any other artists you want considered, Sylvie submitted some, Dawn submitted some. I'm talking with Lua and their art curator, Susan, if you have any.
Yeah, thank you. I saw your email. Thank you. I will.
Okay, great. And then we'll look through those. I'll put a PowerPoint together for our next meeting in January. Okay. You can call me.
All right. So we'll, meeting adjourned. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we have a
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come to the parade.
Saturday, 4:30.
Is it ever good? Always raining every year.
Thank you, everyone. That was